This is Evolve Your Health Beyond the Bench, a podcast dedicated to everything fitness, health and adventure. This is your time to evolve. Davey, thanks very much for coming along. Army veteran and owner of one of the famous white vests, physical training instructor. So, Army life, how did that begin? Was it from a boy? Was it from school age?
Yeah, I leave in school 84. Wasn't much going on like work-wise, so the Army was like my next option.
Especially with Thatcher in government at the time, was it? I'm sure he was busy running about closing all the mines down that.
All that was happening. I think I did what was called in them days a YOP scheme, Youth Opportunities Programme.
Is that basically where you do as much work as anybody else, but you get the piss took out of you when it comes to payday?
100%. £23.50. I did the same shift, 7 in the morning till whatever it was, 5 o'clock.
My first gym job was that. Two days a week in the Seaburn Centre for £40 a week.
When I look back now, I thought there wasn't much happening, but I was grateful for that, because my brother's friend got us in there. But that was a good, give us a little bit of insight. Get out of bed in the morning, get cracking, get after it. As a job came up in the place, I put in for it. But obviously, people who've worked in the cause cranes for many years, obviously they put in for the post and they got it. So once my scheme finished, that was me back out there. So the forces, was the best option.
Was it always going to be the Army, or was the Navy and the Air Force and things an option? Or
it was always going to be the Army. It wasn't going to. I didn't even think about the Navy or the Air Force. It was going to be the Army. I didn't really follow anybody's footsteps. It was my own option. There wasn't a lot about it. And I thought, this would be a good option. So I went for that, and I've enjoyed it. From serving with the regulars to joining with the reserves. I can't see there's much difference.
What were you badged as regular?
Artillery.
All right, that was across the board.
Always been artillery.
So, Davey, what was your experience of being badged as artillery and becoming a physical training instructor? How did the course come about? What was it like?
The physical training instructor's course, that was all different cap badges. We say you do, basically, and that's what we did. And I wouldn't expect me to tell somebody to do something if I couldn't do it myself, So
lead by example. I think it's definitely in life it's a good trait, isn't it? So was that the old Paradepot place? Was it Browning Barracks that was down in Aldershot?
Yes.
So it's just been knocked down, hasn't it, just recently?
That's correct. So whatever I was asked to do, I would do, and I wouldn't ask anybody to go across a traineeism or an assault course, Air Force March, or a BFT, a CFT, whatever you want to call it. If I couldn't do that, I just wouldn't dream of asking somebody to do something what I couldn't or what I haven't done, and you wouldn't get your cross swords if you didn't hit there was no resits or anything like that. Yeah, they did it. I think the first day you got there basically was obviously you got in, you drop your bags off, and the next morning you were out 6 o'clock, and that you're running round the big track at Aldershot. That was your mile and a half. And if you didn't get the time, I think at the time we had to do it in, I think it was 9 minutes off the top of my head. If you came 9 minutes 1 second, that was you. Your bags were packed and you were gone. Because
a lot's changed now, isn't it? Do you think that was the right way to do it? Do you think it became too soft, or do you think that change was needed?
From what I've heard, the basic fitness test.
I think you've just got to watch a video now, don't you, or something like that.
And I'm like, I kind of get it. Actually, I kind of get it. For the guys who are not fit enough, I think they get on a bike now in the day. So there's a test on the bike.
Well, they've done away with the mile and a half across the board, haven't they? So even Army Selection doesn't have that now.
So things are changing all the time rapidly, and I couldn't get my head around that, because the basic test, the mile and a half, was quite simple. And I think obviously your age, you got a certain set time. I'm not hearing good things anyway about the forces at the minute. Everything's...
I think maybe in days gone by, not just the armed forces or the uniformed services, but in life in general, I think we maybe needed a bit of a different approach, but we seem to have changed for the good and went a bit too far. You know, I know absolutely nothing about scoring matrices to get jobs for the emergency services or whatever, but you hear them wanting to meet criteria of race backgrounds and male and female criteria and whatever. And I agree, you know, I think that the job should be open to anybody, but I think it should be on the day if there's one job and 100 candidates, I think should be the best person for the job, and not because you're a certain race or because you're a certain gender or whatever. And I think we've kind of almost lost some focus.
Definitely, 100% agree with you. 100%, definitely.
Did you see, and how long have you been out now?
I left now the reserves 2018.
Right, okay. So you'll have been kind of like, when did the Afghan kind of conflict start finishing? Was round about that time, wasn't it? So
go ahead. Yeah.
So did you notice much of a change with the younger generation at that point? Did you feel like they were, without dressing it up, more needy?
Yes, when the Iraq and the Afghan conflicts come around, you've just hit the word actually.
And to be clear, I'm talking about nothing to do with the conflict, but the recruits of that era. So people like round about that time were coming in and expecting more support, rather than not the people that genuinely need help, but people wanting to be carried this sense of entitlement.
Yes, I definitely agree with you there, 100%. This might come across harsh, but we weren't getting the. I'm going to put it out because I've done a lot of recruiting as well. I was down Strensel for 3 years. That's where all the recruiting went. In the end, I think it's now a Glencoe somewhere like that where they do all the training. But the recruits that we were getting me personally, didn't think they were up to standard. And I know we've got this generation where we were seeing they were all on the keyboards and things like that, and I think that suits. We weren't getting guys coming in and staying, if that makes sense. We weren't getting the guys that we wanted.
When they figured out they had to get out of bed and put the clothes on the cold and that.
Yes, it was a massive shock to their system. I don't know what's gone on, but it was a massive dip. We couldn't recruit. I think it's I speak to people now, and I think the recruiting side for the forces has took a big dip as well, and I can't see it recovering, especially with this softly approach.
We've got to find a bit of middle ground, but like you say, how do we recover from that? Because then it will be seen as a backward step, wouldn't it? Inevitably, it's a violent job potentially, isn't it? And if people have to go to war, can they deal with that, or are they going to need support around the normal day-to-day tasks? And I suppose that leads on as well, doesn't it, to the people that did need support. So the what you see in the press is like armed forces failures around people that had mental health issues, PTSD. I mean, you work with mental health now, as a civilian. Absolutely nothing to do with the armed forces at all now, but people that were, I suppose, failed for an issue that inevitably comes from being on the front line.
I'll just give you one of my little scenarios. When I came back 2003, been with seven or 8 years. We done the conflict, we did the peacekeeping, obviously packed the bags, we came home, and I remember dekitting at Chilwell when we came through all the other bits and pieces you had for you in theatre, having all your big talks from the big wigs, you know, be this, be that, take it easy. And I remember before the Leros, it was classed as a mental health or a well-being talk. I can't remember what, but it was basically I sat in front of a RMO, you know, medical officer, and you're all right. Yeah, I'm fine. And that was it. That was the end of that. That was the end of that. Next.
So what now, as a veteran, you wake up tomorrow morning, you feel like shit, and you figure out in your own mind that that's because of whatever you've experienced in a theatre of war or whatever. Where do you turn today?
I think we have the keep saying there's loads of help out there. Yes, there is, but you've got to. Nobody's going to come and give you it. You've got to really search and look for it.
So the sad reality of that is, and because you work in mental health, you'll understand this. You know, and for anybody listening, maybe they don't. But a lot of the signs and symptoms and whatever of depression, PTSD, is, well, it's vast, isn't it? But not being able to get up in the morning, not being able to sort your own admin, not being able to take care of yourself. And hand in hand with that is probably some issues around making appointments, keeping appointments, getting online and researching phone numbers or websites. And as well as that, do we call it the masculine feeling of being in an armed forces job, like should we be asking for help, should we be reaching out and things. So inevitably that first step's a very hard one, isn't it? And that's probably where the failing happens some of the time, I think.
The first step, asking for help, getting help. Where do you go about it? Yeah, I know. But I think the first thing is you've got to go and speak to your GP. Masculinity again, does men, do they want to talk? Do they want to say it to them? Listen, I feel like this. Do I feel like that? I can't get to bed in the morning, etc., etc. And I know quite a lot of veterans who were struggling. Obviously, we've seen the suicide rate go through the roof, and ex-veterans. So the help is out there, but I think there's a lot of guys find it hard to go and ask for that help or go to the GP and speak. Like when you've said there, Mick, about the online process and things, there's a lot of guys out there who are not savvy with computers, etc., etc. So their first step would be the GP, and then you get what? If you can get a GP's appointment these days.
Well, that's all changed as well. And I think the sad reality of it is a lot of these support networks set up and self-promoted by veterans in that place. They're not, or they weren't healthcare professionals a lot of the time. They weren't experts, if you want to say that. It's people that's experienced this field and realised that there wasn't a lot of support. So set up a club, if you want to call it that. That's maybe snowballed into charity and put their own help out for fellow veterans, I suppose.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. That's exactly what's happening. That is exactly what's happening. People are finding their own feet. Ex-veterans are going out and doing the ABC, like you've just said. Out there getting clubs together. There's lots of things out there now that, that Andy's Man Club, all this, Vic's, but these guys are doing it themselves. And it's getting everybody together and making these things work. Getting back to what you've just said, it is all charity based and things like that. So I don't think there's a lot of help. Might be wrong. There's a lot of help coming from the government. I know they keep saying they're going to jump on and help us here, and there's money getting, but I cannot see it unless I've missed it. It seems to be all volunteers to get these things up and running, these resources up and running, these clubs, etc.
I've got a friend that's I'm saying for quite a long time, but Coldstream Guards, somebody he was involved within the reserve setting before he went regular, and I can't remember the extent of his injury, but I'm pretty sure it was a broken leg or something along those lines during a training exercise, and he was fully employed at that point by the Army, and he was sent home to get care from the NHS rather than it being internal. So that was while he was employed in that role. With an injury that happened during a training exercise. So if that's the case, then people that's left and in effect cut ties have got no chance of that.
Not really. No, you're not, definitely not. You haven't got any chance yet. If there's something that happens, you're chasing all the time to get help if you've got an ongoing injury. Like you've just said, the lad broke his leg. For him to get help or compensated in any way, he's got to start chasing to find out. There's nothing simple. You've got to go and chase. You've got to phone this one, or you've got to go on to Vets UK, etc., to get the help you need. Even like you've just said, it should have all been done in house with the forces. But like you say, right, get yourself out there and speak the NHS, etc., which I think's wrong. It should be all done. You should be looked after, and I don't think that's what's happening now. I don't know if it's getting better. I've left 2018. I'm not reading good stories. I don't know if things are up or down, but things are getting a lot worse than what they used to be.
I watched an online video just the other day actually about one of the veterans that was involved in quite a high profile assault, if you want to call it that, the Iranian embassy siege back
Yeah.
in the 80s.
Mhm.
And this guy was, in effect, put up on a pedestal as part of the special forces and crowned as a hero, I suppose. Yet he was left homeless. He couldn't even get a council flat, and he was literally on the streets. And that's shocking. And I'm not saying for a minute that just because he had the public eye on him that he should be treated any different. But any of the armed forces do a great job, put themselves in harm's way for everybody else, and more so at that level, I think, when they're kind of tier one special forces and they're really kind of risking a lot, probably, certainly a lot of things we don't see in the public eye, and then he's left on the streets to figure it out. It's not right.
You've done your bit, you've done your service, whatever arms you're in, or if you're at the top of the game, you shouldn't be left to, find you on a board. It should be, before you leave the services, all this should be put in place for you if you haven't got ABC done. It should be all, you shouldn't be coming out and having to sleep on the streets, which is happening. Like you've just said, it's happening regular, and we've lost it somewhere. I don't know where we are, but it's the government's not helping. There's a lot of guys out there.
It's an expense, isn't it, to the government, and they're always looking at a way to cut back, whether that's recruit more reserves over regular army, whether it's contracts for weapons or equipment. I mean, how many times I've heard the story in the public eye about vital equipment, body armour, helmets, respirators not being fit for purpose, and it's looked at as an expense, isn't it?
100%, aye, definitely, yeah. I've seen all that, I've witnessed all that, and it's not new. It's been happening for a long time. I think it's getting a little bit better. I've spoken to certain people. I think the equipment they've got now is a bit better than what we used to have.
That's probably down to technology, isn't it, though? Because the manufacturing process, the design processes, the materials are all a lot easier to work with now.
Aye, definitely make 100%. Aye, but I think it's then again we're getting back to that scenario. It's what we just said there: expense and money, isn't it? It's a top and bottom, but we're talking about people's lives out there, on the front line, like we've just said, and it's all down about expense. We should have the best of equipment. Whether things have changed, I don't know. There's like getting back to the technology side. There's a lot of technology now taking over military side of things. So I don't know. I don't know what the future holds, basically.
Time will tell. Maybe sooner rather than later. Looking at the news, I think sometimes we're best off just keeping away from that. But so coming back to kind of the fitness side of things, and as a PTI, either for your own health and fitness or working to improve other people's fitness, how do you feel? What's your personal view on the crossover between not just civilian fitness life, so kind of gyms, football, normal sport in day-to-day life for civilians, but also the combat related stuff, so the way the army would train in terms of being fit for the job?
In the military, if you're good at a sport, which we've just touched on there, you'll play for the regiment, football, skiing, cross country, swimming, whatever. If you're good at that, then your career takes a sidestep. Obviously, you've still got to do your basic training. All that comes first. So when you look at the civilian side of things to the military side of things, I would say the physical side is a lot more robust in the military than what it is in civilian. Say if you come in the gym, you can get on the row machine, you can get on the bike, you can do your level of what you want to do and what time you want to do it. In the military, you haven't got that option. It's right, tomorrow morning we did a CFT, which was a combat fitness test, carrying your weight on your back. And it wasn't all straight and narrow. Sometimes you had to hit the hills and things like that. So I would say the crossover between civilian and military is totally different.
Did you take any inspiration from what you learned as an Army PTI and apply it to civilian life just for your personal wellness? Is there anything you would recommend anybody done in terms of just to stay fit and healthy, but would initially be kind of classed as a, do you want to call it, military exercise? So
civilian, you can wake up whenever you want and go to the gym, or you can say I'm not going today. In the military, you haven't got that option. You tell what to do, and that was my for me to now, left the military, motivation-wise, I can get up in the morning and I can say I'm going to do A, B, C, and I'll do it. If I hadn't been in the forces, probably have a different attitude to civilian going into the gyms, etc. Do it when I want. I can't be bothered, etc. You didn't get that option in the military. So the motivation side of it in the military was a lot, I'm going to put it, a lot more strenuous. You didn't have that option, right? You're doing circuits a day, right? Okay, you might 8 circuits. You're doing them as a PTI. I would set everything up, and they would come in. They'd know exactly what was expected of them because we'd have a program. Tomorrow we're doing the 3-mile run. 2 days time we're going to do a CFT. Get your fitness out the road, get it up, because everything had to be signed for. You had to pass certain tests. Whereas if you come into a civilian gym, you'll have your instructors who'll show you all the exercises, how to do the exercises properly, but you can come and do that when you want. In the military, you're on a timer, if you know what I mean. You've got to do certain tests in certain times, and you're getting timed all the time.
So as a PTI, you've got X, Y, and Z. So you've mentioned your circuit training, your CFTs, and that kind of thing. Who plans that, and why is it planned the way it is? Do you just think, I fancy doing this with the lads this week, or as a box standard PTI, because obviously you climbed the ranks a little bit to management level, if you want to call it that. But as a normal PTI, is that something that's passed down the ranks? Or do you just think, well, this will be a good idea, we'll do a bit of a circuit today, we'll give them a basin today,
the good old bad old days, that was the word, a basin. And you got your QMSI, and we've got a program for the week. So he would have, I don't know, 4 PTIs under him, and I could be working in one part of the gym, circuits. One of the other guys could be out doing a CFT, and between us as a team, we would work that out throughout the week. So I would do the CFT on the Monday, one of the guys would do the circuits on the Tuesday, and that's the way it worked. We had a program, what we had to stick by. We had hit certain targets. So if, just say Monday morning, the guys are out for a 3-mile run, we're timing them as they come in. Right, we've got 5 failures here. We need to get them up to the standard, which we would work on. We wouldn't just say, there's the door. We'd work on it, and 9 times out of 10, we hit the targets.
And are these new recruits or people that's already employed that have an annual test?
It's the guys who were already employed, make annual test, but we also did that with, when the recruits came down, obviously they'd had their own instructors back at their units. So when they came down to the recruiting phase to get through their recruiting roles to join their units, everything was on a time. We had to make sure we had the right results and the right people. We couldn't just let somebody in because he's gone 30 seconds out or something like that. We had to have strict rules, and these guys had to be assessed properly. Obviously, nobody came into the forces unless they had a full medical and they were physically fit.
And speaking from experience, so you've been on tour. How many times have you toured? How many times have you? So for anybody that doesn't know, tour is basically going to war and fighting, doing what you're trying to do. So how many times were you?
2.
2 times, okay. So looking at a fitness regime within an army camp and something like what was the CFT, I don't know if the terminology's changed now, but what was the combat fitness test?
Correct, yeah.
Do you think that was relevant to being fit on the front line, or whatever your job role was, actually in a theatre of war?
Yes, I definitely think it was relevant. Yeah, 100%. I remember when I was with 7 out there and the fighting phase had finished, so we took over some little camp, but the fitness didn't stop. That happened every day. The PTI still ran the guys round. It wasn't like that relaxed. We want a relaxed mode. Everything was done, peacekeeping, but the fitness didn't stop. You would think people would say, "All right, chill out," but no, that didn't stop. We still did the CFTs, the mile and in our compounds. What what equipment we used, sandbags, etc., all that stuff, just to get your fitness up, just to keep it at that level. So things, from when I was in, things didn't stop. It carried on.
And do you think if you had a blank piece of paper to write a full plan out in terms of fitness, and you look at your experience from a theatre of war, would you change any of the exercise or the fitness regimes or the planning phase from kind of recruitment end of things? So joining the army phase 1, training phase 2, whatever it is now, up to a deployment level, do you think there would be a better way of doing fitness? Or do you think it's pretty much nailed? Do you think the way they're doing it now is the right way to prepare people to go to war? In terms of if you've got a casualty that you need to kind of drag out the way of whatever, and you're taking on rounds and things like that, you've got your normal workload. Do you think that the fitness leading up to that prepares you for the job?
Yes, I do. And I think you'd have your phase 1, your phase 2, and then you're getting deployed to theatre. These things all carried on. It didn't stop. It carried on right up until you were deployed. You know what I mean? It didn't stop. It was nearly like we're having 2 weeks off, and things carried on. You had to be up to scratch before you would be deployed. And if you weren't up to scratch, you wouldn't be deployed. It was as simple as that.
So fitness is one thing, but what about the nutrition side of things? What about the eating and the drinking, the hydration, the bits that in a civilian environment we automatically assume go hand in hand with a better lifestyle, if we want to say that?
Yes, nutrition and the...
Because I'm assuming a 24-hour rat pack's not the best kind of way of getting your macros in and keeping a balanced lifestyle.
The rat packs I've had in the past weren't great.
Unless you were with an American.
Yes. If you were an American, you were classed as a rich man. And I did bump into the Americans, obviously, when I was out in Iraq. But and their rat packs to ours were unbelievable.
I'm led to believe Coca-Cola Yorkie bars and on-camp Domino's was a thing, or was it the Pizza Hut or something like that?
That is right, and I didn't get out to Dover. There was a place called Dover, I never got there yet.
I'm just wondering who put the hand up at Domino's behind the counter to say, yeah, I'll fly out and serve pizzas. So that's like
unbelievable, but yeah, getting back to the nutrition side of things, no, I didn't think there was enough in the ration packs. And when I first got there, the water we got was all warm, so we're drinking warm water. We did eventually get some freezers, whatever, but I went down with whatever they call it, diarrhea and sickness. Diarrhea. I was on a drip actually. After we'd finished, I was that bad. I couldn't. I don't know if it was the heat or whatever, but I was being sick, and I was put on a drip just to get some fluids back into the system, because like I say, I was drinking warm water. It was horrendous drinking warm water, but you had to drink some, because otherwise you wouldn't survive. But
4 cans of Stella was out the window, wasn't it?
Oh, I definitely 100%.
Four cans of Stella and a Domino's pizza.
It would have been nice. I remember once actually we got the queue. I can't remember his name, good lad, but we got these. We got some hot dogs, and it was great. It was the best thing in the world. We all got one hot dog each, and that was it. We got one hot dog, and that was the best thing of that time being out there, because that hot dog, and I'll never forget it. We got one hot dog, but we all got one hot dog each, and that was it.
It's a bit like watching I'm a Celebrity, isn't it? They get a treat night, and then in reality, it's like it wasn't there.
Yeah, definitely. Aye. I don't know if things have changed. I don't know how the de-deployment now, but what the scenarios are. Obviously, we're all the fitness, from what I can gather, is gone a step backwards. I don't know how the PTIs work these days. I don't know what their plans are or what's happening. I couldn't see on that side.
Was there much of a change in the job role for you from what rank were you when you got PTI? Because you've got to have rank anyway, don't you?
I was I was a full screw, yes, which was a full bombardier in the...
So 2 stripes on your arm, you get your white vest, red trim, and you're in the gym all the time. You live in the dream. Everything's all fluffy in the sunshine, that kind of thing. And then you work your way up the ranks a little bit, and you got a staff sergeant.
Staff sergeant.
So for anyone again that doesn't know and that's not familiar with the UK Army ranks, staff sergeant's quite a respectable rank. Some would probably argue maybe the best rank you could get to. When you weigh up the pros and cons of the higher ranks, if you want to say that. So how did your job role change purely as a PTI at that rank? What would that make you in equivalent terms in a civilian gym?
In a civilian gym, I'd probably be the head instructor, basically. You know, if we're talking the rank side of things.
Probably a bit of an area manager, wouldn't it?
Yes, because obviously you've done all your training, you've got your certificates to prove that, and they didn't just give the cross swords to anybody. I remember one of the courses I did. I think the last course I did as a physical training instructor, I was 52 years of age, and I remember the QMSI introducing us to whoever inspected us, because you had to refresh every year, and seeing this guy's this age, and all the guys around us were all young lads, different cap badges, mostly paratroopers, but I it was like I had to shake my head. I said, what's that thing here with all these young ones? You know, I was surrounded by young ones, but
leading from the front, maybe.
I think I had a certain standard, a set standard, and I wanted to keep that standard. I didn't want to go below that standard.
For yourself or for people looking in? Or?
I didn't want to let me guard down, if that makes sense. I wanted to stay where I was. I wanted to be able to, if I'm still wanting around with these cross, so I wanted to obviously prove that I could do the same job as I could.
Really, so yeah, I think so.
20 years ago, whatever. Like I say, I wouldn't have went in for the refreshers or any of the courses if I didn't think that I could do the training or the obstacle courses or whatever you want to call it, the 6-foot wall, the 12-foot wall, because then I have to instruct people on that. I wouldn't have done the course. I would have just said, right, I've had enough. My time's done. But it was standards. Again, you set yourself standards and goals, and like you say, back to the rank structure, probably as an area manager type of thing in a civilian gym. But it wasn't easy. You've got to earn the rank, and you've got to go through several courses, and it's a lot of time studying, etc., etc. Just like if you want to be in a civilian gym, you still got to do all your exams, etc., etc. But a lot of hard work, Mick. A lot of hard work.
So you mentioned if you didn't reach the standards, you would have made a decision yourself that was your time kind of done, and inevitably your time was done in 2018, but it wasn't for that reason, was it? So how did the decision come about to leave the armed forces?
The time was coming up. Me battery, the CO of the regiment tried to get us another year, because obviously. Not boasting or anything like that, but I was good at my job and I could still do X, Y, Z. So he tried to get us another year, but it then came out from Parliament, wherever, 55, that's the cut-off. I think unless you were in the catering side of things, then you could have stayed on till you were 60, I believe. I didn't want to go down that route. I think I was asked if I wanted to go down that route.
It's quite hard to do burpees while you chop the carrot up, doesn't it?
It is. It's definitely high. But then I was offered roles. I mean, I had guys phone us, ex-officers, asking if I wanted to join the cadets. It was an option, but I mean, I got a few phone calls. Come across here as an instructor. Cadet Force, this one, Northumbria, that one, and I declined that. That was it. That was me done. Aye.
Anything you'd say to anybody if they were thinking about joining the armed forces, if there's one exercise or one area of their physical wellness that they should really kind of hone in on and concentrate on, what bit of advice would you give to anybody?
I've met a lot of people in the past who've said, well, I cannot do this and I can't do that. And I've always said to anybody, even if you're starting off and you've never done any fitness in your life, it's no good going out on the street and trying to run 3, 4, 5. It's not going to happen. Maybe he's hit a couple of steps. This is what when I was in my peak, I used to run up and down steps. walk, run if I was in a final of anything, or I was training for a London Marathon or the Great North Run. So I've always said to people, if you're starting off, start off nice and basic. Even if you come to a civilian gym, get on the running machine, walk, get your time in, get your distance in, get your stamina built up before you even think about doing anything, because you're just going to hit a brick wall and you're not going to get where you want to be. So my advice is get yourself fit. It doesn't have to be running streets for miles and this, that, no. You can get in the pool. I don't know, swim. You know, you're using every muscle in the body. But walking, a fast walk, and then you'll pick it up. Then try a little bit of, I don't know, a run, a jog, a mile, something like that. Just build it up slowly, and then you will feel yourself getting fitter, and you will be able to do things a lot easier. That's what I think. Anyway, they good trying to start off and doing 10 miles of it, because I'm not happening.
Slow and steady wins the race.
That definitely, aye.
Davey, thanks very much.
No problem, been a pleasure. Thanks, Micky.